We weep for the blood of a bird, but not for the blood of a fish. Blessed are those with a voice. If the dolls could speak, no doubt they'd scream, I didn't want to become human. I believe that everybody has those few anime that are responsible for getting them into anime. Though love at first sight is rather powerful, and despite not knowing something, you can still find it rather attractive. Both ideas come together here today with what we're going to discuss. As you can see, this is simply a Megahouse shop figure in this box. I've reviewed a couple of the figures from Megahouse before, and they've been rather nice, but this one here is on a whole other level, so let me show you what it is. Now this is the Motoko from Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex 2045, which was actually a Netflix animated series. It wasn't exactly an anime. It was done with 3D characters, which I wasn't too keen on, but still, it had some design work in it from Ilya Kushivnov, which is an amazing artist, and if you don't know, you have to go check out their work. And Ilya did a great job at redesigning Motoko in a new way. I'm incredibly fond of this design, so I'd say for around $150, this was pretty worth the price tag. But obviously enough, this box here was not only well protected by the double packaging, but expertly designed. This is absolutely beautiful. Packaging is something that I give a lot of points to because I think it's really overlooked with a lot of figures, but here with Megahouse, this thing is absolutely gorgeous. All of the faded purples and pinks and blue really give a neat sort of glitchy aesthetic in the background, which is very cyberpunk, which of course is what Ghost in the Shell is. If you're not familiar, Ghost in the Shell is one of the greatest of all time anime, and rather than sit here and review the whole thing for you, I'll just say go watch it because it's one of the things that got me into watching anime itself. I haven't actually watched the series that this design is from, but I will say that it's on my bucket list, and either way, I love the design so much and the character that it seemed to go hand in hand with my interests. Love at first sight is truly a thing, and regardless of not watching Standalone Complex 2045, when I saw this, I was blown away. So, knowing the character and the artist, I got it. But let's find out whether or not I will regret it. So then, with her finally open, we can take a look at what's inside. And the first thing will be the base that she comes with. This, to me, is not so great. This is very, very minimal effort here. They literally just took a clear plastic disc and put Ghost in the Shell on it, and it's in white, so it's kind of hard to read. Now, if you put it on top of something dark, that will help. So I guess that's kind of cool. You could put a different color thing underneath it to change that up. But for me, this is just a missed opportunity, because I have other figures from Megahouse, and they've done fine with bases in the past. They've made them colorful, they've put designs on them. This is literally the least effort you could have done, and I really don't like it. Another thing about it is this thing gets fingerprints and dust on it very easily, so this will look like crap when you display it. Now that's not even it, because you actually have to plug this piece into the base to actually display her. So now you have this giant, strange-looking pillar coming out, which will plug into her foot, as will this piece plug into the other foot. I do like the fact that this is very stable and it will hold her up without weakening her over time, but it's just kind of boring for a really exciting figure. If they were going to do this anyway, I would have preferred them do it as one piece, because now you have this extra bit of stuff in here, which just doesn't look very good. Additionally, we have her pistol, which is literally the only other thing that detaches from the figure. So there's that. It's a nice little pistol, the details are pretty decent, and the painting is overall rather clean. But the actual piece that we were waiting for is right here in the actual figure of Motoko, and I've got to say, this is really impressive. She's beautiful. The colors here are so nice and subtle, but it works so well when you really take a look at her. If you measure her from the base up, the figure itself is just under 8 inches. It's like 7.9, which is what it lists it as online, which would make it a 1/9 scale. But if you measure it from the table itself, she looks to be 8 inches tall, though she's not quite. The sculpting is absolutely amazing. Her face in particular is so well detailed and young and pretty, but ultimately has a bit of maturity to it thanks to the fact that her eyes are so striking. When you look at her face, what's really interesting is that at some angles it's narrow and serious and almost like a viper. She seems very deadly, whereas in other angles it's rounder and cute and she just looks adorable, which I think is really interesting because she could go from cute to sexy to kind of scary really quickly. The hair is also great. Though there are multiple seams in it, I do really like the way that they used a gradient effect to create that shine on it. This looks so nice. The jacket's another thing I really like. There's so much great wrinkling in the sculpt here. This looks awesome. And another great thing is the fact that they made the paint on it a very metallic purple. This allows for lots of natural highlighting, which looks really cool and absolutely makes it look like a jacket, maybe a polyester of some sort. Either way, this thing looks great. Inside the jacket, of course, you can see that she has a little strap there by her shoulder, as well as the little logo on the collar, and her collarbones rather prominent there. Her chest is pretty prominent as well, nicely shaded and highlighted to make it really look like an ample bust, which looks tasteful. It doesn't look fan servicey, which is something that I really appreciate. Her one piece is tucked away into her jeans, allowing you to just want a little bit more, and the creases of her hips really do allow that desire to be fulfilled when you take a look at that beautiful anatomy of hers. Around the back, it's very similarly well detailed. You can even see her spine sort of poking through the back of the outfit, and even on the side of the one piece, there are little tiny wrinkles here and there, just showing the tension of the fact that her body is bent. Her hands are clad in fingerless gloves. Very edgy, but very cool. Still looking very striking for Motoko and very fitting for her outfit. Look, this isn't the end of the world, but you can see a bit of dark discoloration at the end of the cuff of the jacket where it actually connects to her skin. Right there's just a tiny bit of darkness, which of course is not intended. And while it's not too irritating, it is annoying in a figure this expensive to have paint errors. Though I will say though, the bend of her elbow and the natural progression of her arm looks great on both sides. The anatomy here is perfect, and she truly does look like a person. Now about those pants, there's so much great shading in them. They're very subtly done in a way that kind of really makes you take a look at those legs. The little wrinkles and creases by where the pants are stretching over that ample butt of hers, as well as here in the crest of the knee where it's bent, really just allow for some natural form, and it looks great. The utility pouch does allow some separation of the leg, but there's that similar pinch there where you can tell that this thing is molded separately, so all of the actual molding here is awesome. It looks so good. Her knee has a little bit of a knee pad on it, which allows for another break, so I'm not sure if this is actually attached inside of here. I would imagine it is. Maybe they made it in a bunch of separate pieces, but still, the actual flow works really well. It still looks really good either way. Finally, let's take a look at those boots, because man, those are pretty dope. Now these, ladies and gentlemen, are combat boots for sure. As you can see though, they're kind of strangely painted with some metallic in the front, which allows for some shine. Either way though, they look dope, and they're really well sculpted. Lots of great little details from the little buckles that connect the loops for where the actual laces are running through. Everything looks really nice. And of course the actual design of the shoe is rather consistent. It looks great. There's wrinkles in it and plenty of shading to go with it. Nothing was skimmed on really at all here. The one thing I will say though about the shoe is that if you really get in there, you can notice there's some kind of sloppy painting, and it looks almost as if the sole was glued on right here at the tip, where you can see just a little bit of excess. I'm not quite sure what that's all about. Another little production error that kind of just makes me mad in the end because of how much she cost, but still, it does look really good either way, and I'm not going to sit here and focus on the tip of her boot and get mad about it, because when I'm looking at her on a shelf or something, I'm probably not going to notice these kinds of problems. One thing I don't really like is how you have to get the gun in her hand. You just sort of have to force it in, which to me is just begging for this thing to get damaged, so be careful and make sure she's warm before you attach that gun, which is what I'm going to go do now. But once you do get the gun in, it actually fits rather well with the figure. It doesn't look stupid. She's not pulling the trigger. That's the good thing, is that if you actually take a close look, you can see that they made it so that her finger lines up perfectly with that trigger, which can sometimes be tough. I've seen this done really poorly before. Overall, Motoko looks great at pretty much any angle. On the base, she looks wonderful, though I will say that the base is something that I just wanted more from. Having her sit on top of just a plain disc is just kind of a crime to me. It's so uninteresting, and it really takes away from the extravagance of the figure. Even if they wanted to make it just some glitchy purple, blue, and pink mess of colors with the same logo on there, I still think it would have worked way better. It's my one big gripe and my major pet peeve of the fact that this figure is on such a boring base. It really just takes away from the fun. I would absolutely recommend anybody who is interested in Ghost in the Shell, or of course this version of the show, to buy this. In person, this thing is unmatched by almost any of my other statues. I'd say that the closest thing to it would be the Nadeshko that I got from Fat Company, and this absolutely decimates that figure. And the price tag was lower, which is why I think there's a lot of value here. You're getting a gorgeous piece. Spin this thing 360 degrees and I'm going to tell you at all angles, she is stunning. Breathtaking even. With very few production errors, I will say that those did not take away from the overall piece. Everything is hidden really well, any seams where anything connects, everything here just works. Motoko is one of my favorite anime characters, bar none, but she's certainly my favorite female character from anything ever. I absolutely love this character, I love this rendition of her, and I love this figure of her. And that is why the Megahouse Motoko Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex 2045 is going to get a solid 10 out of 10 from me. I was on the fence about giving her a 9 out of 10, mainly for the base, but I cannot blame the base for what is an amazing figure. How could I allow that to deduct a point from this, which is seriously perfect when you take a look? There is very, very little that I dislike about this figure. The only thing that I can think of other than the base is that the crease of her leg is not dark enough. But still, in that, I will say there's so much shading on this thing, and the sculpt is so amazing at catching light in such an inventive way that there's really no reason for me to hate on this at all. Motoko is beautiful. She's one of my favorite characters ever, and I will not give this perfect figure anything less than a perfect score. So, what do you guys think? Am I crazy? Do I like Motoko too much? Because I'm starting to think maybe that I do. You guys like all those other robots, but man, as far as androids go, this is the most beautiful one that exists. Drop a comment below and let me know what you thought about this. Like the video if you did indeed like it, and subscribe to the channel for constant new figure reviews. There's also a Discord you can join, the link is going to be in the description, as well as my Ko-fi where you can follow and maybe even donate to me if you like. Additionally, I just made new pins of Crown-chan, the mascot of the channel, and they're super cute. They're little acrylic pins, so take a look at those over on my Etsy. I'm going to link 2 videos on screen as well, make sure to check those out because I do some pretty crazy stuff on this channel. But with all that out of the way, thank you so much for watching, have an amazing day, and keep on collecting.